welcome back. It's time for this week's edition of Red Light, Green Light. We've got a bit of a twist on it this week, but I'll explain that at the end. We're going to start with WSU's win against Utah, specifically their defense. In the fourth quarter, the Cougs absolutely locked down the Utes. WSU only allowed 4 first downs, 23 yards rushing, and 12 yards passing. Utah quarterback Tyler Huntley went 2 of 7 and was sacked once in the final 15 minutes of play. Utah went 0 for 5 on third down and only completed 1 of their 2 fourth downs. Of course, that final fourth down we're seeing right here was a conversion that WSU shut down, and it all but won the game for the Cougs. The defense last night was quick to shout out their 12th member at the press conference.
Protecting our home is one of our big things that we value in the locker room. So, you know, the crowd coming out aggressive, hyped up, and we were just as hyped up as them, and we just rolled together.
It's a legit home field advantage once, you know, we get those third and fourth downs, just having the crowd on our back. You know, so my hat's off to them, and shout out Coug Nation.
And who was the defense powered by yesterday? Well, none other than the guy you just saw, Peyton Pallure. The 6-year senior had 13 tackles, 5 of which were solo. Also, that sack in the fourth quarter that I referenced, it was Peyton's. You just seen it right there. It was the most tackles in a game Pallure has had since the Boise State game. He tallied 14 tackles in that game, but that game went to 3 overtime. So Peyton much more efficient last night, but there's more to Peyton than just the stats.
Good. I think he does a really good job keeping everybody centered in there, keeping everybody playing, keeping everybody battling, and I think they draw a lot from Peyton's leadership.
And finally, let's wrap up talking about the Cougs with talking about their wide receiving core. This is more like a season-long award here for the group so far. Until yesterday, every game has had a different leading wide receiver. Yesterday, it might as well have been a tie between Aesop Winston, who had 115 yards, and Desmond Patton, who had 112 yards. Patton hasn't led the team in receiving yards this year, while Aesop did against USC. This is a group where anyone could step up on any given night. Eastern's 34-17 win over Montana yesterday was the definition of balance. The squad had nearly 200 rushing yards and just over 300 passing yards. The thing that stands out the most is their receivers' numbers. 5 receivers had 40 or more yards. Okay, yeah, Antoine Custer had 39 yards, but I'm going to round up in this instance. Simba Webster led the team with 50 yards, and Custer was on the bottom with 39 yards. So that just tells you how much the ball was shared around between Webster, Custer, Andrew Brown, Terrence Grady, and Jace Gilder. Idaho finally checked their first Big Sky win off the list yesterday afternoon, defeating Portland State 20-7. It was the squad's first Big Sky win in 23 years after leaving the conference in 1996. The squad endured a 44-21 drubbing by a ranked UC Davis team last week, so being able to bounce back and beat the Vikings was impressive. Mason Petrino also handled the main quarterback duties well. He went 17 of 24 yesterday for 166 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Colton Richardson tweaked his wrist against UC Davis last week. Finally, let's talk a little Whitworth football. It wasn't always pretty at times, but the team defeated number 14 ranked Linfield yesterday, 19-14. It was the first time the Pirates have defeated the Wildcats, a perennial Northwest Conference powerhouse, in 11 years. Whitworth and Linfield were the only teams in the NWC receiving votes in the Division III coaches poll, so don't be surprised if the Pirates get into the top 25 this coming week. This was supposed to be a big rebuilding year for Whitworth after only returning 4 starters on offense, but so far so good. And you may notice as viewers, no red lights this week, and that is because this is the first time in 2 years that all 4 of our teams won a game on the same day. So we are going to savor this, and we're just going to talk about the good things.
Celebrate that, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thanks, Brenna.